It's time for NFL picks for Week 7. I'm Professor MJ, a nerdy statistician and bookie crusher since 1999. Welcome to the best sports betting channel. Last week, we racked up a 9-6 record against the spread. Attaboy! We also continue to destroy the sportsbooks with our plays receiving a grade A. We won with the Steelers minus 5.5, the Panthers plus 3.5, but missed on the Colts minus 6. That means our record on picks rated A across the past 3 weeks is now 11-2. Are you ready for this week's predictions? Let's go! The Sunday morning game in London features the Rams squaring off against the Jaguars. The best wager of the week, which I call the Lobster bet, concerns this specific game. But for the first time ever, I've got 2 Lobster bets this week. Indeed, I loved so much a couple of plays that I could not decide which one would qualify as the weekly NFL Lobster bet. So I decided to make them both the Lobster bet. If you wish to gain exclusive access to those 2 high confidence plays, just sign up via the link below in the comments. Keep in mind that we own a 10-5 record with the NFL weekly Lobster bets since I began offering this service in week 14 last year. Let's move on to the Saints-Bears matchup. In this case, I am betting Chicago laying 4.5 points. Caleb Williams does a lot better when playing at Soldier Field than on the road. Let's dive into the numbers. On the road, Williams has posted a 3-8 record compared to 5-6 at home. What about the famous TD to interception ratio? On the road, 13 TDs versus 6 picks. At home, 16 touchdown passes versus just 2 picks. Big difference. This is also a great matchup for the Bears. On offense, they have fared a lot better through the air rather than on the ground. It turns out that New Orleans' defense struggles a lot defending the pass, as shown by the fact that they rank 28 in terms of opponent EPA per play via the pass. I believe the second-year signal caller is in for a solid game with big numbers. Also, DeAndre Swift looked great on Monday night against Washington. He ran the ball on 14 occasions for 108 yards. He also caught a couple of passes for 67 yards, including a TD. To me, Chicago's defense also did a decent job against a tough Commanders offense. They seem to be improving. Meanwhile, I have to admit that Spencer Rattler does a much better job than anticipated. Over the entire season, he has tossed 6 TD passes versus just 1 pick. Last week, he completed 77% of his passes against the Patriots. But the Saints have not done so well on the road though. They lost by 31 points in Seattle and 12 points in Buffalo, although this game was still tight in the fourth quarter. I think the Bears will roll this Sunday, so I am betting them with the minus 4.5 point spread. Here comes a pick rated A. Such plays have crushed it in recent weeks, so let's keep rolling here. In the Miami-Cleveland game, I am betting the Browns team total to go under 21.5 points. Can you guess how many times Cleveland has put 22 points on the board or more this season? That's right, 0 times. Their biggest output has been 17, which is shameful. Granted, Miami's defense has more holes than Swiss cheese. They have given up at least 27 points in 5 of 6 games. They rank in the bottom 3 according to many defensive metrics. Still, I don't see an offensive outburst by the Browns here. Dillon Gabriel had a fairly promising NFL debut against the Vikings, but he did not look so good last week. He only accumulated 221 passing yards from 52 attempts, a meager 4.3 yards per attempt average. In summary, all he could do was tossing short passes. It should not be too hard to defend. Gabriel was also the victim of 6 sacks. Will the Browns be well rested? I don't think so. They are returning home after 3 straight weeks on the road. As a matter of fact, they traveled to Detroit, London, and Pittsburgh. Speaking of Pittsburgh, it is possible that the Browns have a bit of a letdown game after facing hated division rivals like the Steelers. To top it all off, both tackles on the offensive line, Cam Robinson and Jack Conklin, are at risk of missing this contest. Tight end David Njoku is also considered a long shot to face the Dolphins this week following a knee issue. For these reasons, I don't expect the Browns to score more than 21 points this weekend. The Titans fired their head coach Brian Callahan this week. Will that give the team a boost this week? I don't think so, so I'm taking the Patriots minus 7 points in Tennessee. The Titans have been dreadful on both sides of the ball. They rank in the bottom of the league both on offense and defense. The team will keep the same play caller, so don't expect big changes there. In their 5 losses, the average margin of defeat has been 15.8 points. In fact, all of their losses occurred by a margin of at least 8. Calvin Ridley finally had a good game in Week 5 with 131 receiving yards. However, last week, he left in the second quarter with a hamstring injury. He could not run at all after the injury, so it does not bode well for his chances to suit up this week. He had also been battling elbow and knee injuries prior to that, so he is beaten up. The Patriots will be looking for some payback after suffering a 2017 overtime loss to those same Titans last year. In that game, Drake May was the victim of 2 interceptions. The Titans dominated total yardage 400 to 295, so I expect New England to be motivated for the upcoming match. The Patriots' defense has been quietly doing a great job in recent times. They have given up 19, 20, and 13 points during the 3 most recent weeks. Of course, another argument supporting this pick is the fact that it will be Mike Vrabel's revenge game. He coached the Titans for 6 years, taking them to the postseason on 4 occasions, despite not having a franchise QB. And yet they fired him. All Patriots players will put the extra effort to get their coach the W. Drake May has the league's 4th best passer rating. He's been taking big strides this year. He was great again last week, despite Stephon Diggs being ineffective. May has many weapons at his disposal, and he can also run when needed. He is hard to defend for opposing defenses. New England's run defense has been very stingy this year. They occupy the 4th spot in terms of EPA per play against the run. That will force Tennessee to throw the ball, which is bad news for the Titans. They've been awful throwing the ball, and they could be without their top target. Ouch! I will side with the Raiders plus 12.5 points in Kansas City. To me, this spread is too big. The defense from Vegas is above average. They are 11th in total yards allowed and 10th in defensive DVOA. Also, Ashton Jeanty should find a way to keep his team within striking distance. He has rushed for at least 63 yards in each of his past 4 games. Meanwhile, KC's run defense ranks in the bottom 5 in the league, so why not run the ball to milk the clock and keep Patrick Mahomes on the sidelines? I believe the spread is inflated due to the excitement revolving around KC's recent surge. The quality of their play has definitely improved, especially on offense. In each of the prior 3 matches, the Chiefs have scored at least 28 points. Also, Rashee Rice is set to return after serving a 6-game suspension. It will be the first regular season game where Mahomes has Rice, Worthy, and Brown all on the field at the same time. I also understand that Brock Bowers is unlikely to suit up for this game, and perhaps even Jacoby Myers as well. And Geno Smith has not been the answer at QB for the Raiders, with 7 TDs versus 10 interceptions. Still, I believe the Raiders will cover the spread. Did you know that they are 3-0 ATS in their 3 most recent meetings with the Chiefs? Last year, they should have pulled off the major upset at Arrowhead Stadium, but a botched snap cost them the victory. I'm not overly confident about this bet though, which explains my C grade here. Will JJ McCarthy or Carson Wentz be under center for the Vikings? No matter what, I'm taking the Eagles to win outright. Wentz has a serious shoulder injury, so I'm not sure he is ready to take the field. McCarthy could possibly return, but is he ready? The answer is not clear yet. Apparently, he's been working on his footwork because he has been missing some easy throws and he holds on to the ball for too long. In short, he has not looked so good in general. Minnesota's offense is 27th in EPA per play. This unit is hard to trust no matter who is the starting QB. On the other hand, I think Philly can exploit the Vikings' run defense that has been reeling this season. It's time for Saquon Barkley to get going after a very disappointing start to his 2025 campaign. Kevin Patullo's offense has been underachieving for sure. They have scored exactly 17 points both against the Giants and the Broncos in their last 2 games. Lane Johnson criticized Patullo for being too predictable. Philadelphia has faced many good teams this season, so I think they are up to the test. Given the recent struggles, I think it's best that they play on the road because they won't have the pressure of playing in front of their demanding fans who would certainly be quick to boo them. So we have a play rated B, which is the Eagles full game moneyline. Alert! We have another pick receiving an A grade. This time I am opting for Carolina's team total to go under 21.5 points at MetLife Stadium against the New York Jets. Rico Dowdle has been the talk of the league in recent times. He amassed 473 total scrimmage yards during the past 2 games, a franchise record over a 2-game span. I cannot imagine the Jets not game planning against him. Their run defense has been a lot better than their pass defense this year anyway. The most dangerous receiver on Carolina's squad by far is rookie Tetaroa McMillan. However, he will face Sauce Gardner, who is a great shutdown corner. If you take a look at the past 2 games, he limited Courtland Sutton and George Pickens to 1 and 2 receptions respectively. That's impressive. Outside of McMillan, the Panthers don't have a lot of firepower in terms of receiving targets. Bryce Young has fared better lately with 6 TDs versus 2 interceptions over 3 games. But he has faced the Patriots, the Dolphins, and the Cowboys, whose pass defenses are quite weak. Also, the Panthers have looked a lot worse as the visiting club. They own an 0-3 record away from home compared to a perfect 3-0 record at Bank of America Stadium. For these reasons, I don't expect the Panthers to put 22 points or more on the board. Up next, I think the Broncos will cruise past the Giants. I'm betting Denver minus 7 points. Rookie Jackson Dart has looked fantastic, both as a passer and as a runner, even without Malik Neighbors and Darius Slayton. But here is a weird fact. Dart has beaten the Chargers and the Eagles, but he lost against the lowly Saints. But what was the big difference in those games? The loss occurred on the road, whereas the victories took place at MetLife Stadium. This week, Dart will be facing a super loud Denver crowd. The Broncos are first in the NFL at home in terms of net yards per play. Their defense is the best in the league in opponent EPA per play. Dart is likely to get flustered by Denver's defense on the road in the Mile High Stadium where breathing can be difficult. This is a sandwich game for the G-Men since the current matchup is sandwiched between two contests against the Eagles. Facing a non-conference opponent on the road won't sound nearly as exciting for New York's players. They could suffer from a letdown game after such a huge emotional victory against the Eagles. Denver's defense has surrendered just 11, 17, and 3 points in their 3 most recent games. Bo Nix has been quite inconsistent, but I could see him having a good game at home against a weaker defense. So, all in all, I've decided to opt for the Broncos laying 7 points. Dart has been great, but he may not be as efficient in a tough environment, and the Giants still have a lot of holes in their roster. The Colts Chargers game is the subject of my second NFL Lobster bet. So again, you are invited to get the PDF presenting and detailing my top 2 betting picks for Week 7 by following the link in the first comment below. Let's beat the bookies together, my friend. Let's move on to the great NFC East showdown between the Commanders and the Cowboys. Here is how the games went the last 2 times that Dak Prescott played at home against Washington. The Cowboys won 45-10 and 56-14. In both cases, Prescott tossed 4 TD passes while accumulating 330 passing yards or more. Also, Dallas is 7-1 against the spread the last 8 times they squared off against the Commanders. So, as you can guess, I am supporting Dallas in this matchup. More precisely, I am taking the Cowboys full game money line as I think they will pull off the upset here. George Pickens has picked up the slack during CeeDee Lamb's absence. In fact, Pickens has reached the end zone in 5 straight games. He caught 9 balls last week for a total of 168 receiving yards. Now, Lamb has a good shot to return this week, along with Cavonte Turpin and right guard Tyler Booker. That's great news for an offense that had already been playing at a high level. Javonte Williams was limited to just 29 rushing yards last week. I'm not worried about that. Prior to this game, he had averaged 89.4 rushing yards per game. He got stopped by an improving Carolina run defense, whereas Washington's run defense is not nearly as stingy. Of course, my main concern is how many points the Commanders will put on the board. Jaden Daniels has been good both as a passer and as a runner, and the Dallas defense has looked awful. Both teams are likely to score a lot of points, but I think Dallas will prevail. Prescott has had a lot of success at home against Washington, and the Commanders lose 1 day of rest and preparation after playing last Monday. I am predicting a mild upset in Dallas, as the Cowboys should get the win over their division rivals on Sunday. Next, I will go with the Packers -6.5 in Arizona. Jacoby Brissett surprised all of us with 320 passing yards in Indianapolis last week, despite missing Marvin Harrison for most of the game. He took full advantage of a depleted Colts secondary that lost Charvarius Ward during pre-game warm-ups, and who were already missing Kenny Moore, Jalen Jones, and had to deal with the recent retirement of Xavier Howard. This week will be vastly different against the Packers. They have a solid defense. I believe they will eat Brissett alive. Based on the latest reports, Kyler Murray is unlikely to play, although it's not certain yet. The Cardinals opened the season with a couple of wins against the Panthers and the Saints. Now they are reeling after going through 4 consecutive defeats. Green Bay's running back Josh Jacobs declared it takes him 3 or 4 games before he gets going. That has turned out to be true. His two best performances occurred in the prior 2 weeks, with 86 and 93 yards on the ground, along with 4 total touchdowns. After dealing with many wide receiver injuries, the Packers are getting some bodies back. This week, they could get Christian Watson back on the field. The team already has Dobbs, Wicks, tight end Tucker Kraft, and rookie Matthew Golden, who is getting more comfortable in Green Bay's offense. Jordan Love has more and more weapons at his disposal. The Packers are 3-0 at Lambeau Field, but 0-1-1 on the road. That's a source of concern. But unlike the Cardinals, they've had quality wins against good opponents. Beating the Lions and the Commanders in convincing fashion is nothing to sneeze at. Green Bay ranks 3rd in the league in net yards per play. They are definitely a strong squad. In my humble opinion, they will beat Arizona by a margin of at least 7 points. We have a very interesting Sunday night matchup featuring a couple of NFC teams whose record is positive. In the Atlanta-San Francisco meeting, I am betting the Niners team total to go under 24.5 points. This play receives a grade of B, but it was close from being an A. Brock Purdy returned to practice as a limited participant. The team may elect to take a more conservative approach this time around after seeing him aggravate his toe injury upon returning to the field too soon. And anyway, Mac Jones has been doing a solid job in Purdy's absence, so why rush Purdy back? Jones has been laboring through knee and oblique issues though. He showed signs of weakness last week after tossing a couple of interceptions. He is set to face a rock-solid Falcons pass defense that also features a fierce pass rush. It will be hard for San Francisco to move the ball. Sure, Atlanta's run defense has been average, but the 49ers are dead last in terms of yards per carry average. They have struggled a lot to get McCaffrey going as a runner. George Kittle has a chance to return to action, but he may not be at full speed yet. Ricky Pearsall is trending to miss Week 7. He has been bothered by a knee injury. Jawan Jennings played last week, but he was very ineffective. He played through 5 broken ribs, 1 high and 1 low ankle sprains. He finished the game with just 1 reception. It was a courageous act by Jennings, but he's not the same guy for now. Kendrick Bourne filled in admirably with exactly 142 receiving yards in each of the past 2 games. Thank God he's been there to fill the void in Kyle Shanahan's offense. I find it unlikely that the 49ers will score 25 points or more against a very solid defense with a banged-up QB, a tight end returning to the field after missing several games, and banged-up receivers. Let's go with San Francisco's team total under 24.5 points. What are my picks for the 2 Monday night games? You will find out soon when I release my video revealing my predictions for the Bucs Lions and Texans Seahawks games. The best action you could take right now is to smash the subscribe button. For maximum productivity, hit the little bell to allow notifications to alert you as soon as I post new betting tips for you. It's always a pleasure to help you beating your bookies. I'm Professor MJ. Thank you very much for watching.